Man, today we got a special guest, one of the icons, one of my favorite rappers coming up, Tracey Lee. We're going to talk about his collaboration with Notorious B.I.G. We're going to talk about him transitioning into being an entertainment lawyer, the indie versus major grind. There's so much meat in this. Stay tuned. Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your man, Ruslan with KingsDreamENT.com. This channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you to live out God's dream. And that looks in all kinds of different ways. And we've been doing this interview series. And you know what? I'm hell-bent on trying to have my favorite rappers on the show. And this is somebody that you guys may not know about, but you need to know about. As far as I'm concerned, he put out one of the best, if not the best, concept album. Very early on, doing very interesting things in terms of the voice inflections. Classic hip hop artist, ladies and gentlemen, Tracey Lee. How you feeling, bro?
Oh man, thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate you.
For the people who don't know who you are,
yes,
could you give a brief recap? And then there's a whole lot I'm gonna want to unpack. We've already been building and chopping it up, you know what I'm saying? But just people who don't know who Tracey Lee is, who is Tracey Lee?
All right, so Tracey Lee is an MC out of Philly. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of people don't know I was actually born in Buffalo, New York. I lived in a lot of places. My mom, you know, kind of traveled, you know, just to make life better for me and her at the time. And so, you know, final stop where we, you know, basically where I grew up is the Philadelphia area. Well, in the city of Philly.
What part of Philly?
Southwest, but went to school in North. I went to school at Girard College, which is a boarding school.
Okay.
Went there when I was 12 years old. Graduated in 1988, and then found my way down to Howard University. You know, HU, for all the people that's listening out there, you know. And so I went to school with a lot of cats, man. I went to school with Puff, went to school with Mark Pitts, went to school with Marlon Wayans, Anthony Anderson, Taraji P. Henson. I mean, the list goes to Shy, the group Shy. You know, the list goes on, Ananda. And so from there, Derek D. Angeletti, can't forget about that, brother. That's my mentor. And so from there, you know, everything, you know, kind of came full circle, kind of cultivated into the point where a lot of those people are very prominent in the business now and, you know, got situations back then and then kind of pulled other cats into the game. And so I was one of the cats that was pulled into the game by Mark Pitts and Derek Angeletti. Okay. Got signed to Universal Records. Made the record. And so for the people out there that don't know who I am, I'm an MC that made a record an album called Many Faces that dropped on Universal in 1997. Made records with the Notorious B.I.G., Busta Rhymes, did collaborations with Kanye West. You know, the list goes on. Man.
Now, okay, so backdrop for me, I'm young at this point, right? I'm growing up in Southeast San Diego. 96, I remember going and buying the All Eyes on Me album. And I had always been a fan of both, right? East Coast and West Coast. But I'm West Coast. Like, I'm absolutely. West Coast. And I wasn't really...
That All Eyes album is
oh my
gosh,
though, crazy. I remember when Blockbuster used to sell CDs? So I remember going to Blockbuster, buying that CD, and then I had this little job where I was passing out these little Russian menus for a restaurant. And my reward will be, sometimes they pay me, sometimes they take me to the record store. We had the warehouse, and we would buy albums. And I remember buying the Many Faces album. And it's around the time, I remember Busta Rhymes was really starting to bubble around this time. And so I bought that Many Faces album, had no clue what I was getting myself into. And getting home, and I was like, yo, like, because I think the single was popping, like the Party Time single was booming. It was on the radio, it was the visual was doing its thing. But when I sat with the record, I was like, yo, the concept of the record is you are flawlessly, I gotta say that, flawlessly executing how many different MCs? It was like 8 different styles?
It was 5. 5
different styles.
There's Mr. Lee, there's LR, there's Rock, there's L, and then there's Trey. And so with each name, there was a personality. Like Trey was the ladies man. Rock was the party dude.
Trey, keep the ladies in orderly.
Yeah. You know, LR.
It's rock, y'all. I need. Yeah.
So, you know, it was all variations, but the neat thing about it is that they were all me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, those were times, those were mood swings that I were in.
Yep.
You know, and those were a part of my personality. So it wasn't like I was being something that I wasn't.
Yeah, it was just who you was at.
I just gave them titles. You know what I'm saying? So that's
how did you get the idea? Like, I'd be thinking, like, how does somebody's brain work to be like, yo, I'm gonna do 5 different distinct styles. You're rapping in different inflections and tones. So it wasn't like just different cadences. There were different cadences, but different actual tonal qualities to your voice. Like, how did you get this idea?
Well, honestly, it came from the versatility of the records.
Okay.
So when we got signed, you know, and the theme took off, there was this urgency of, okay, now we got to put an album together. This is how Universal thought, which I thought was a terrible mistake, but it did open the door for what I'm about to explain. So because there was such a rush to get this album out, and I already had records done, there were just like a couple of more records after we looked at the landscape of what music I already had done. We didn't have to waste time making like 13 records or 14 records at a time. We just do like 5, 6, you know, and kind of fit it into the scheme of what we already had. Well, after we did that, we looked at the landscape of everything, and the 2 records that I made probably last were Many Faces, the title track, and Who Shot the LR.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Because we looked at the landscape and saw what we had, and we were like, yo, we got a variation of things here. There's not one set way or one set direction with each record. They're all going in multi directions. So that's how that whole concept came about. So it was like, okay, we'll take these 2 records that I already did, you know what I'm saying, and classify them as this type of record. We'll take these 2 records and classify them as that. So, okay, how do we tie it together? We put voices on these 2 bookend records, Many Faces and Who Shot the LR, and create characters behind it.
So it was almost like pragmatic. Like, you had a bunch of demos, you had the singles, I'm assuming, and then you were like, well, let's just piece it together. It was like a puzzle for you.
Yeah, it was like a puzzle, but we didn't have the singles. The theme was not supposed to be the first single.
Okay.
I had a single called, I used the D'Angelo track, Lady. Back in it was a joint called I Like It Like That. That joint was on fire. It was so on fire, we gave it to Kid Capri, and Kid Capri was like, after I released the theme, I saw Kid Capri at the Nas Double Platinum party for the second album.
It was written?
It was written.
Yeah.
It was in Atlanta.
I know my hip-hop history.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
what a beautiful era, by the way. Just to set that landscape, like Nas, it was written, ready to die.
I mean, you had
Tupac,
the Wu-Tang came out like a couple months after Many Faces. I went to the album release, John, down at Tower Records in Times Square. But Kid Capri was like, yo, I mean, the theme is hot, but yo, what happened to this record right here? And he was talking about the D'Angelo record. And so that record, we couldn't get the clearance for. And so that's the reason why they passed on that.
What does that mean, though, for people that don't know what that means? Like,
clearance?
when you're signed to a major label, you're doing collaborations, maybe you're sampling other people's music.
Right.
You have to get a clearance. Can you explain that?
Well, we sampled Lady by D'Angelo, and so therefore there are people that own the rights to that particular record. D'Angelo did a publishing deal, so he didn't own the publishing for that particular record. Matter of fact, Jocelyn Cooper worked for the company, and matter of fact, I think she might have had a stake in that particular record, but she was also, which is ironic to me, one of the vice president at Universal at the time. So she was, you know, basically my boss, you know what I'm saying? So I just never understood why you never want to clear this record.
Right.
You know what I mean? So basically, when you have to get clearances, because you have to go through somebody that actually owns the publishing to the record, and if you can't get the rights to the record, sometimes they'll ask for an extraordinary amount of money. Sometimes they'll ask for all of the publishing. Sometimes, in this particular case, they'll just say, nah, you can't use it.
Outright no.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened with that record.
Okay.
And then there was another record called Showtime that I did with Faith Evans that we serviced, and a lot of cats, you know, this was before the theme. That was supposed to be the jump off joint, and that never happened either.
You still got these records?
Oh yeah.
I got
you. I got you.
Okay, so things are starting starting to bubble, you book in this concept, which almost sounds like it was random, but it was incredible.
Nah. It was like it was it was strategic. It was basically looking at the joints and being like, okay, how can we market this?
Yeah.
It's like, and this is what this is what By Storm is asking me. Like, how can we market this? Like, what are your thoughts? And so that's when it all just, it wasn't really a random thing. It was just saying, look, you can't really box me in. And that was the kind of the problem with the theme, because the theme gave people a false perception, just like you said.
Right. Because it was a party record.
Right. So you didn't know what to expect.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I'm listening to the record, and I see the Busta Rhymes feature, which was a fire Busta Rhymes verse, and then I see, and then there's this song, and I turn it on, and it's Big. That I reach it.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Say that again. You said there's this record and you turned it on.
I played it. I was just listening to the album.
So basically you had to play it in order to see that Big was on it.
Yeah, because it wasn't credited. So why was he not credited? What was that? Was that another one of those clearance things?
Yeah. You know, of course, Big is on Bad Boy, and even though Mark Pitts is his manager, and that's how this whole thing came about.
Mark Pitts is who's doing By Storm.
Yeah,
with
he's
you.
the president.
He's managing Big.
He's the president and the CEO of By Storm.
Okay.
But he also manages Big because, again, Mark came from up under the Puff Bad Boy camp.
Got it.
So, you know, that's how the whole collaboration came about. And by the way, you know, before I got signed, Mark would play Big a lot of my demos. You know what I'm saying? He played a joint that was on a record called Rugged One. That was on a demo. He played Repent for him. And then he played another record that never made it called No Doubt. And those are the three records that Mark signed me on.
Okay.
And it was really because it was endorsed by Big, sitting in the car with him while he was playing the records. You know what I'm saying? And I got a little nugget. We'll get into that. Matter of fact, I can go ahead and tell you now. Well, no, we'll get into that later. But anyway, the whole Big situation was, okay, and this is just my opinion, it was a competition thing, I think, between Mark and Puff. I don't think Puff wanted, I think Puff thought that Mark left the nest a little too early. So I'm not gonna help you out with so much, basically.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, Big can do the record with him. If he think he's dope, he can do the record with him. You know, of course, we had to pay Big.
Right.
But that's as far as we're going to go.
Right.
We're not going to let you get sticker rights. We're not going to let you advertise, market, and promote. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I mean? So
Puff was a shrewd man.
I mean, some people say, hey, he's just doing business. That's what Baby told me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When I explained the story to Baby, Cash Money, he was like, hey, you can't blame that, man. But at the same time, I've known Puff since he was 18, 19 years old. So I'm like...
So Big does the record. You don't have to answer this. What did the Big verse cost back in 96, 97?
10 grand.
10 grand.
That's it. I think I got a great deal for him.
$10,000 for a Notorious B.I.G.
10 grand
verse.
flat. I don't think he was charging everybody 10 grand. I think he did me a favor based on Mark. Shout out to Mark Pitts. But yeah.
And that was his last feature, right?
That was his last feature. That was his last record. That was his last recording. We recorded that joint December 5th, 1996.
Wow. So are y'all in the studio together?
Yeah. We was at D&D Studios.
Okay, what was that like?
Oh, it was Primo, D&D Studios. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Primo.
That's Primo on the beat?
No.
Okay,
that's
who's on the
cat
beat?
by the name of Ike Lee III.
Okay.
But Preem was so, gracious enough to allow us in the studio. So I walk in there, Big is already in there, but he's also in there with Jay-Z. Jay-Z still in can't knock the hustle mode. He got on the mink, you know what I'm saying, and all that, you know what I mean? So
spending money from 88 still?
Yeah. He's doing that, you know what I mean? And so, I'm walking in there, of course, Big got on the infamous Cool G and all that. So and he's waiting for, I don't know if you saw this documentary.
The show?
No. It's Fab Five Freddy has a documentary out on Netflix talking about weed. And so
I gotta see that.
Yeah, and so Branson, right? Branson is all through it. And of course, Branson is made famous by a lot of rappers because they mention his name because he's the guy back then. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Making the Primo deliveries. And so Big you know, he mentioned this in his documentary. Big is, you know, sitting around, we waiting for Branson to come through with the good, and so that's what's getting his head right. And you know, we you know, conversing and things like that. Got the Henny flowing, and so we're in conversation, and ever so often in the conversation, we're in there about 8 hours, and so ever so often in the conversation, I see Big black out, and Big is just rolling his body like this. Smoking, drinking, not engaged in the conversation. The beat is on in the background, if you can imagine. We all talking.
He's like in a trance.
Yeah, but he's doing this in the trance, and I'm peeping him. And so after he'll do this for like a couple of minutes, he'll come back in the convo, talk, make people laugh, and then he'll go back out and just do this. And I'm like, I'm looking at this dude, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? So then, you know, after a while, after he's dropping jewels on me, telling me about the game, telling me about the business at the time, giving me all these jewels that I had never heard at that particular time from an artist of his caliber. You got to remember, Big's at the top of the game.
Yeah.
So everything that he's saying to me about the business, I'm just soaking it all up. Like, wow, I didn't know it was like this. You know what I'm saying? I was living in this fairy tale.
Right.
And he's giving me the real. Like how him and Ernest setting things up, waiting for everything, you know, kind of pop off. He's going to fulfill his obligation, and then he got other moves he's making.
Yeah, because him and Un had their own imprint.
That's right. That's
with
right.
That Junior Mafia signed and Cam was signed to, right?
Exactly. He had the Brooklyn Men clothing. He had a whole lot of stuff lined up.
That's dope that Big was entrepreneurial back then.
Oh, yeah.
Like to consider that he was 24 when he passed, and he was thinking along those lines. Because on a surface level, if you just listen to his music, you didn't think he was that entrepreneurial and that sharp.
Right.
But then you hear about all this stuff from past tense. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but the thing about his background, he's a hustler.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So once you learn certain things about certain aspects of certain other businesses, as a hustler, you're gonna pick up on these things. You know what I'm saying?
So y'all in the studio.
Yeah.
He's doing his trance thing.
Yeah.
In and out of conversation. The Henny, everything's flowing. So at what point does he get now? What is and y'all are just chilling? Jay-Z.
Now he left. He eventually.
Okay, so Jay leaves.
He was only there before we got into the creative process. Jay was in there chopping it up with Big,
cooling.
And then he left. So he wasn't around for the creative process.
And so what does he just then get up and just walk into the booth?
What he does is I'm looking at him and I'm like, after a while, I'm like, okay, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
He was like, no. He said, yo, chill. After I said, what are you doing? He's like, no, chill. So then, you know, after a while, he gets up and says, I'm ready. And I say, ready for what? He said, I'm ready to get in the booth. And so at this particular time, you know, I'm still pen and padding it up. I'm like, where's your pen and your pad?
And you know what because it was, I grew up and it was folklore of Jay writing like this, Big writing like this. Another one of my favorite MCs who I'm gonna have on, Ahmad from 4th Avenue Jones, writes like this. And I kind of took some of it. I punch, so I don't write, but I punch, but I don't do a whole verse in my head.
They all punch.
Okay,
don't get it twisted. Okay. They all punch.
So he says I'm ready, and then what happens?
And I say, ready for what? And he says, I'm ready to get in the booth. And I was like, where's your pen and your pad? And he goes, nah, I can't do it like that. I can't write it down. I was like, what's the problem? It's like, it confuses me. And I never understood what that meant until after I went to law school. And what he meant was, it's the transferability. It's going from head to pad to mic.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Pad disrupts.
Yes, I say this all the time. Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes.
So that's essentially what he was saying. It's like for me to sit up here and read it and to try to spit it and give you the inflections and all that other stuff. Like, nah, let's eliminate.
Just go straight to the mic.
And the thing about Big was, I say this about Big all the time. He's the most efficient MC in the history of hip hop. And what I mean by that is he says more with less. He can find a word and his syllable structure inside of a frame and the way he created his bars, he could say in one word what most MCs may use 3 or 4.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's where there's clarity. That's why there's a depiction in what and how he does it. Like you see it like a movie, it's a picture. You know what I'm saying? It's so clear. And so that's what also his writing style helped him in the way he wrote. You know what I mean? In his head. You say less words, you use less syllable structure, you use less, and it's all about a bounce and a flow.
It's a flow.
And,
the flow is crazy.
And he got that Jamaican thing in him, so there's already a different type of, you know what I mean, bounce to what he's doing. So that's the reason why he was able to convey the way that he conveys his rhymes.
It's incredible. So, you know, I'm at a point where like I'm hardcore like Tupac. Like I'm like
I love
Tupac, Pac to the death. And then that Biggie verse kind of got me back into Biggie, like you know, and then
that Biggie verse on
that
my
specifically
album?
Biggie verse, because it was so like, I mean, you got to remember, like I'm 10, 11.
Sure.
Like I'm in 7th grade when Tupac died.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So you're just completely impressionable. Like Pac is a god, especially on the West Coast. So it was like, I was listening to Biggie before, but when Pac said like, F Biggie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when I heard him on your joint, then it kind of got me back into like checking, you know, then listening to Life After Death. Now, that does well. Now, didn't NORE kind of throw some shade at you about that, like about Biggie? Because I don't think Biggie like killed you like that. It was a stellar Biggie verse, but I always felt like you held your own with Busta, with Biggie. You know what I'm saying? Like what that was a thing, right?
Yeah, he made it a thing. And the thing about it was no big deal when he said it once.
It was on Drink Champs.
Yeah. But he used his platform to say it twice. He had one time he had Lil C's and Jadakiss on there. And shout out to Jada, because Jada had to reel him in, because he thought that, you know, not only did Biggie body me, but Biggie put me in retirement. Like, because from a national scale, I wasn't out there anymore because I had not released any more commercial, you know, I had no commercially released albums on a major label after that point. So his whole thing was, he bodied me and you never heard from him again. And Jada had to tell him, no, dog, he's a lawyer. He went to law school. Like, he took this game and learned some things, and he still does music. Shout out to Jada for correcting NORE. NORE, you need to have Mr. Tracey Lee, and we're going to refer to him as Mr. Tracey Lee until you make this happen on Drink Champs. I would love to have a healthy conversation with NORE on his platform, but then he brought it up again when Meth came up there. And so that's when I was like, all right, I didn't really want to make, because listen, it's subjective. If you thought Biggie bodied me, I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. That's your opinion. I can't sway you one way or the other. That's just what you think. But when you use your platform to bring me up twice, and not only bring me up twice, but according to you, I'm in obscurity and I'm nowhere to be found, but yet you use your platform to bring me out. Okay, cool. Now I want to see this, or use this as an opportunity to say, hey, allow me to defend myself. Allow me to roll up on you and explain to you, or at least tell my side of it. Don't just spew it out there and just say he bodied me. Or just go bar for bar. Or let's make a record. Let's get on a record. Biggie bodied me. NORE, I love you, but the reggaeton ain't gonna cut it on a record with Tracey Lee. Let's make a record. No, I'm actually a big NORE fan. I love NORE. Especially that era NORE, the Capone Noriega, and then the transition in with the Neptune and the Pharrell beats. NORE was amazing. So you talked about it briefly. You dropped this record. I would call it a cult classic. Definitely one of my probably top 5, top 10 albums. Some amazing features, amazing records. From the outside looking in, it looked like everything was successful. Like on the outside looking in, I mean, again, I'm 12. Like, sure. Usually I'm 12, 13. I mean, it looks like that to a 30-year-old too. Yeah. Go ahead. But there was no. It just kind of seemed like you just kind of disappeared. You know what I'm saying? So we talked a little bit about it. The situation. You're signed to By Storm. By Storm is. Imprint, right? An imprint of Universal production situation. So what does that? What does that mean? Is that do you know? Did they have a 50-50 with Universal? I don't know what their deal was, but they were their By Storm. Universal was By Storm's distribution, basically. Similar to like a Cash Money Universal situation. Absolutely. Okay, so they were just Universal at the time is just shrewd and just buying up, not buying up, but partnering up. Because at that particular time, Universal knew nothing about hip hop. Like myself, McGruff, A+, Cannabis. Lost Boys, we're like the first wave of hip hop coming through that channel. Okay, and this is before they merged with Interscope and Def Jam. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you're signed to By Storm. By Storm is going upstreaming through Universal, and then you start working on a second record. But apparently, it's this word that a lot of people don't know what it means, and we don't talk about it enough, really. They told you were unrecouped. Is that essentially what happened? Well, essentially what they said was By Storm owed them, they were unrecouped. So they cut the check to By Storm, By Storm. And it trickled down. So they said, okay, cool, we're gonna cut our losses by storm. You're free to go, but we have to have an opportunity to recoup our money back. So what's your most valuable asset? At least this is what was told to me. Well, the most valuable asset at the time was me, because you know they had other artists that came out on the label, but I guess because of the success of the theme, you know, the hottest commodity that they had was me. So the natural thing was, okay, you can go get your own situation, you know, but we're gonna keep Trey to try to recoup our money. I don't know if I really believe that, you know what I'm saying, because I still have questions as to, you know, how were you allowed to go by storm and go get yourself a situation somewhere else?
But you're signing by storm.
Yeah, I'm signing by storm, but you allowed them to keep me. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't a situation where you could have negotiated something and brought me with you. Hadn't, you know, so that's neither here or there. But nevertheless, I get stuck on Universal. And so to me, that was a death trap, especially hindsight looking, because now I have no representation in the building. And it's frowned upon because I was the type of person, and still am the type of person that like to be hands-on with my business. And so it's frowned upon for an artist to be in the rooms with the presidents and the marketing team and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't really want the artist to understand what's going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And so because of that situation, eventually they gave me a budget to do another album. We did another album, Live from the 215. That's when I said we did records with cats like Kanye, and we had Corrupt on the album, and Buckshot on the album, and Black Rob, and D-Dot, you know, executive produced everything. We released a couple of singles. We released a record called Go Ahead. We released a record called We Like, where the video was shot by Brian Barber, who was the director of all of Outkast stuff, and he also directed the movie Idlewild. We had a Ludacris on in the video. We had a
You was early on a lot of this stuff, right? You in terms of the Kanye.
Oh yeah. No, these were before people even knew who Kanye was and who Ludacris was, and Lil Jon in the video. They had no clue who these guys were. And so after we released that video, I went to Miami. Never forget it. It was the winter 2001. They doing ads in the Source. I'm thinking the record's about to drop and all this other stuff. And so I get back from Miami, and that whole Miami trip was an omen because it was raining, it was cold. I get back to New York, and we were supposed to be down there to do a show. The show got canceled, all that. So I get back to New York, and all of a sudden my phone rings. And it's somebody from Universal, and they say, you know, we hate to inform you that your services are no longer needed.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? We have a severance check for you, you know, come up to the office whenever you get a chance. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh. Crazy. So it hit me like a bag of rocks. I ain't gonna front. You know what I mean?
So your service is no longer rendered, but you can't release that music. They still own that music.
Nah, they still own the music. They still own the master. They paid for it, rightfully so. But it was never released. It got shelved. That 215.
That's so stupid. Like, you would think that, like, if you're at a label, they want to let you go, like let you keep the music and put it out.
I would think so, especially if you're not going to do anything with it. I haven't seen any of those records anywhere since.
Yeah. So switching gears. So then I'm assuming because of these situations within the music business, because of, hey, I'm signed to By Storm, but By Storm gets to leave, I have to stay on Universal, and then I get shelved. You transition and get into law, entertainment law.
But not immediately. Okay. What happened was I had to find my way. Like, I had to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? I wound up going back to my mom's crib, right? And so at my mom's crib, you know, I stayed there for about 3 months. She said, sure, come on in. But then after about 3-4 months, you know, I'm 30, almost 31 at the time. Okay. She's like, you got to go. Like, I don't care where you go, but you got to leave here. Yeah. So I wound up going to Atlanta with my brother, moving down there. He wound up going to grad school, so he moved out. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure out my way. I met a young lady down there that, you know, we kind of shacked up, for lack of a better term, and I'm still, like, getting down to my last money. I was always good with money, so I kept, even though it wasn't the kind of money, I wasn't bringing in the kind of money that I thought I was going to bring in off that Many Faces album, but I still was able to, you know, last a little bit. And so I got down to and this is my spiritual moment, I get down to my last $7. And so I'm thinking to myself, what I'm going to do with $7? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go to get a last meal and that's it. So I went to, you know, church, right?
Really?
And I dropped that $7 in the plate. You know,
crazy.
It's like God, I'm just leaning on you.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And so I used to always go outside, at this particular time and kind of take walks and kind of, get into my spiritual side and just listen. No talk, just listen. And so it wasn't almost. He was speaking to me through nature. He was speaking to me through the trees rustling and the wind blowing. And I was hearing, just certain things. And one of the things I heard was, Trey, you've gained all of this knowledge from the game. You've been through the turmoils. You've been through the trials and tribulations, man. Let's use that. Let's use that on the other side.
Wow.
Go to law school.
Wow.
And so after I put the $7 in the plate, I'm broke. I'm like, how am I going to go to law school?
Yeah.
Well, I get a call from Wayne Barrow, who's the president or vice president of Boston, who's Mark's cousin. Gives me a call on the phone and says, hey, Universal Publishing has a check for you, but they don't have the right address. You know what I'm saying? Call such and such and da-da-da-da. So I called them, gave them my address. Maybe about 4 or 5 days later, I get a check in the mail for $7,000. That's not it.
That's crazy. So you gave 7 and got 7 bands back.
That's not it. So then, I get that money, blase, blah, so it gets me back on my feet. Now, you know what I mean? I begin to, you know what I'm saying? And then 2 or 3 days later, I get another check in the mail for $57,000.
Really? Crazy.
You know
and this was from Universal or just like
Universal?
Wow.
And so that was me paying my student loans back from Howard. Now I got money to, you know what I'm saying, to go to law school. Now I begin to prepare for the LSAT. Come to find out after I take the LSAT, my aunt, talks to somebody at Southern University Law Center. I get a scholarship to go to Southern University Law Center fall of 2003 and graduated in 2006. So it was not just an immediate go to law school. It was some soul searching. It was some soul digging. It was some spiritual things going on, and this is what happened.
So you go to law school, entertainment law, right? That's kind of the emphasis.
Yes.
And you practice law.
Yes.
And how was that?
I didn't go in full-fledged practicing. After I passed the bar, it was, at first trying to find a mentor in the game to kind of bring me along. And, that didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. So then it became, piecemealing of sorts. You know what I'm saying? I shout out to my cousin Adrian and his wife. They, had a situation where they were doing some things with a lot of clients out there that people may know, like Solange Knowles and Kelly Rowland. I think at the time, Solange was DJing and stuff like that. So I would do, managerial contracts for her. Same thing with Kelly. I did a deal with a company that they represented. Jen Bowie, shout out to Jen Bowie, did a company that they represented, Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? I did some deals with them. Young Guru, I did some contract negotiations with him, you know what I'm saying? And that's my brother, you know what I mean? Me and him went to Howard together. So I was piecemealing a lot of situations, using my skill and my trade to be able to, gain some money in that manner. But it was never a full-time situation where I had my own firm and things like that, because I didn't want that. I didn't want to, one of the things that I figured out in law school is that a lot of these kids that were coming out, they were going straight to firms, and their quality of life was shot because they were in these firms, 18, 16, 18 hours a day, coming home, just long enough to get a cup of coffee and then going right back in the office. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy, man. So, wow. So I got a few more questions. One, how is it that, and don't take this the wrong way, but how is it that you've been able to age so gracefully? you on the paleo, you on the keto, the vegan, like it doesn't make any sense.
I am doing the vegan, man. I am doing the vegan.
You doing the vegan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I just started that maybe about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Okay.
After watching What the Health. But I don't know, it's genes. It's always, well, even before the vegan situation, I never ate pork, never ate beef. Well, not never, but I stopped a long time ago. Yeah. Drink plenty. Well, I drink about a gallon of water a day. Workout, you know what I'm saying? And that's really it, man.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, cause man, it don't make no. Cause I be like, yo, how these dudes like. Yeah, it don't make no sense.
I'll be 50 next year, so I'm loving it. You know what I mean?
Wow, you don't look 50 at all, bro. I was trying to do the math in my head, because Jay-Z is turning 50 this year.
Yeah, he's turning 50.
And so I was trying to do the math in my head. He looks great, too.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying? So it's a beautiful thing to see see cats go through multiple eras, still look healthy, still be relevant. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what else? It's also the culture, man. It's also hip hop. Like our 50 is not like your parents' 50.
Sure.
Because their mind state and what they were into, you know, at that particular time, it aged you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They did a lot of work with their hands.
Yeah.
Did a lot of, you know what I'm saying? That kind of manual labor. It's like we're not doing that. You know what I mean? We are the entrepreneurial technology. You know, all fit, eating better and things of that nature.
Healthy, going to the gym, being active. Yeah,
absolutely.
Switching gears, you talked about you having this encounter with God, miraculous, very, very tangible moment. What are your thoughts on, I see that you follow like Lecrae, you follow Butter P. Like, what are your thoughts on Christian hip hop in light of what you've experienced in the industry? Because you know what's happened. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of majors is getting their feet wet. They're hopping in. So there's a subsidiary of every major label that's now trying to get involved.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I love it, man. I think it's a shame that I don't like labels, man. I'm like, if it's dope, it's dope. You know what I'm saying? No matter what content, what you're talking about. If it's, I mean, this is just from a basic level. If it's dope, it's dope. Whether you're talking about God or you're talking about the block. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like labels. I've never liked Christian rap. You know what I'm saying? It's either it's dope or it's not. There's a lot of times that people talk about, you know, in their lyrics, when they touch on, you know, a spiritual aspect or a spiritual moment. You know what I'm saying? And this was before you even came up or people came up with the term Christian rap. So that's all I hear when I hear Lecrae. That's all I hear when I hear a lot of these cats out here. I forget this album that I bought, and this was about maybe 5 years. I mean, this album is so, I ran this album, but it was labeled under the Christian title. And I'll have that for you off the air as soon as it pops up in my brain. But I just don't like the label, man. If it's hot, it's hot.
Yeah, that's good. You know, one of the thing that got me into God was them prayers at the end of the DMX albums. You know, that's
was a great example.
Yeah, that was what got me.
He used to stop shows with his prayers, man, and it was just him and a microphone. No fanfare, no DJ, no nothing. And that was one of the things, like DMX, of all the people that I encountered in this game during that time, DMX was the most authentic guy I had met, man. I mean, and I'm not saying Big wasn't authentic, and I'm not saying that any of these other cats weren't authentic. It's just that you felt, it's almost like I met Pac as well. Like that's crazy to me how I shook hands and talked with Pac and Big at the same, like not at the same time, but you know, in my lifetime. But he had that Pac effect. Like when he talked, you felt it. It was intensity, it was authenticity there, it was feeling, it was, oh man. Shout out to DMX.
One of the things I was talking to Manny. Manny, he goes by The Truth. He's a big Christian hip hop artist. And Manny said something to me that was really interesting. And I don't know how you feel about this, but he said, you know, we weren't designed to live at the mountaintop, right? And I'm sure as you examine your life versus kind of some of the peers you came up with, right? Specifically Pac and Big aren't here no more. Jay-Z's the first hip hop millionaire, right? But I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't doing as well as you. You know what I mean? And what Manny said was, he was telling me, he said, you know, we're not designed to live at the mountaintop. He's like, that's why anybody who follows God never stays at the mountaintop. He said you go through the valleys, you go up you go up and down. And he said, if you think about the mountaintop, and this was so profound. He literally said this to me a few nights ago. He said, the oxygen is different. There's no shade. There's no sustenance. There's no water. You know, he's like, that's why people of God don't tend to stay at these peaks all the time, because we are not designed to receive that much praise. We're not designed to receive that much acclaim. And so as someone who, I'm sure you've seen the pits and falls of the industry, and you went on to have a normal life, to be healthy, to be happy. What is your thoughts on that? Like, cause there is this allure that you're gonna get in, you're gonna be famous, and you had a big taste of that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm assuming that you're probably way more happy and fulfilled where you're at now.
Oh man, I got a wife, beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids, 2 and 4, man. And but for the path that I've taken, I don't know if I would have been able to achieve that. And I'm just being dead honest, man. And so if you're asking me, would I trade the mountaintop for that?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like I like going to sleep at night. Yeah. I like being able to simply go to the grocery store and pump my car with gas and going to the grocery store. You know, you get an occasional, oh man, that's Trey Lee. But it ain't to the point
it's not
where
over the top.
Flashing lights. Man, and the thing is, if you would have asked me this 20, 30 years ago, I'd have probably been like, nah, I want that.
Yeah. But
this is how God works. He knows what you can handle, what you being an obedient servant, for lack of a better term, he knows what you need. He knows, or she, you know what I'm saying, the being knows what is best for you. And so, you know, you just got to be obedient, man. You got to, you know, I tell people all the time, do less talking and more listening.
That's good.
You can't receive what you're supposed to be doing if you're always talking. Yeah. Listen.
That's good. The dope part is that you're still making music.
Absolutely.
It's still dope.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still dope. I think your story and the amount of value that I think just you as a person and your story, I think is just we need to hear more of it. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I love following you on Instagram because I see you post like inspirational stuff, and then I see you post throwback stuff, and it's like this wide spectrum of stuff. What advice do you have for these kids that are coming up? We talked a little bit about it. You know, major labels, they're signing 2 artists a day on average, right? Over 600 artists are getting signed a year.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right? What is your advice? Because the advice you gave me was very like, that was very interesting. You know what I'm saying? But what do you have in terms of just like this next wave where they got the technology, they can make music easier, they can get connected to people easier? Like, what advice do you have for these kids? Major labels, not major labels, holding out, independent. What do you think?
Well, first thing I would say is, again, do less talk, more listening. And while you're listening, the first advice I would think is, or would say is, be honest with yourself. Can you really rhyme? Like, can you really rap? Can you really spit?
Yeah.
If you can't do that, but you love the culture, then why not find something else to do within the culture?
Yeah.
Because I find that people that may not have the talent, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but again, with the technology, I think people get false perceptions, right? So find out, be honest with yourself, what it is that you are good at in this culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Once you figure that out, then you figure out what your end game is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, if you get in front of that mic, right, and you start to spew some of the things that you spew just because you see somebody else making perceived to be making a whole lot of money off of it, or perceived to be famous off of it, and that is your end game, then it's not going to end well for you.
Yeah, if you want to be rich and famous for the sake of being rich and famous, that's going to go bad.
It's going to go all the way bad. So you got to be honest with yourself first.
Yeah.
Now, for the artists that are dope, you know what I'm saying? Now you figure out your end game from there.
Yeah.
Is it notoriety or is it the money?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is it making a living?
Yeah.
Is it simply just being happy doing what you love to do?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then that way you can figure out your path.
Yep.
Because if you want the notoriety, I would say go ahead and try to get a deal.
Yep.
If you want to make a living, I'm saying the technology is there for you to make a living.
Yep.
You can go directly to your consumer.
Yep. And maybe you're not a millionaire, but you're 100,000.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This is what you're going to do for a living. You're going to make records. You're going to have tours set up like yourself.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to go, and meet a lot of people and network and things of that nature and expand your brand without borrowing millions of dollars from a label that you're going to have to or they're going to have to recoup, or you're going to have to pay back before you see a dime. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about a 360 deal where they're getting a piece of your pie that you've worked for. So it's really about your end game. Being honest with yourself and then discovering the end game, and then with your end game, what is the route that you're going to take to get to your end game?
That's good. What do you have? I know you just dropped a record in January.
Yes, Expect the Unexpected.
do we got? You seems like you're always pushing out visuals. Like I always see new music videos from you, so that's fire. Are we gonna get a Tracey Lee book? Are we gonna get a Tracey Lee? Like I would just love for people to come and hear you speak. Like I got a plan. I got to bring you out and get you to like some type of panel.
I would love, man.
Like if we had like you, Wendy Day.
Shout out to Wendy.
Wendy Day is amazing.
Oh, she's
if
amazing.
we had y'all on some type of panel, you know what I'm saying? That kind of spoke to this generation. Like what can we expect? I know you know that album's called Expect the Unexpected. They go get that. But what can we expect next from you?
Okay. Well, like you said, we're constantly pushing out videos. One of the things, just on the music side, one of the things that we're gonna do, and this is an exclusive, we're gonna shoot a video for every joint on the album, and then we're gonna release a visual album. Of this album.
Love it.
You see what I'm saying? And that's toward the end of the year. Now, in between time or during the time, what I would love to do, like you just hinted on, we have I'm talking to a publisher now about doing a book.
Okay.
I teach or used to teach at Coppin State as an adjunct professor in the business of music. So one of the things that I'm trying to do now is develop a curriculum that I can pitch to various colleges and universities across the country to see, the possibility. And I know Ninth Wonder does that. And a couple of universities. I think Harvard is one. I think Duke is another one.
Pimp C does that.
Pimp C
There's a handful of brothers that teach.
Exactly. So that's a passion for me. I would love to get on the collegiate circuit in some shape, way, form, or fashion, especially on the teaching side. You mentioned speaker series. I would love to do a speaker series. So just
podcast?
Well, we do a podcast called Married to Hip Hop.
Okay, I'm asleep.
Nah, you're not. It's just that we've discontinued it for a second, but I just got the word from the producers that we'll be back doing that toward the end of the summer. And I'm headed to Morocco next week for a week doing a show and helping to launch a label out there, basically speaking to the people in Morocco that are interested in the music business on the music business.
Man, that's crazy. Listen, I gotta thank you, bro, because we gotta shout out Stuck in the Middle Studios as well.
Absolutely.
For opening up their space. We're right outside of, where are we at? We in Bowie or we?
No, we're in Laurel.
Laurel. I've had a crazy day where my equipment and my bags got lost.
Wow.
Then they got found. I didn't tell you this. They found them, but they wasn't my bags. I met the dude, and it was somebody else's bag with my name on it.
Are you serious?
And then I had to go back to the airport to try and find a bag. On the phone all day.
Where were you coming from?
I was coming from San Diego. I took a red eye from Dago. Got in at 7 a.m. Don't got my bag. All the equipment's in the bag. I'm calling them. I can't sleep on planes. Anyway, what I appreciate you is that you've been so flexible and gracious.
Not a problem.
This entire day with me, because I'm sitting here, and again, shout out to Stuck in the Middle Studios for opening up this wonderful space for us, letting us use it. Any final thoughts, closing remarks, anything you want to just leave with the people?
Again, Expect the Unexpected out on all digital platforms. We just released the new video, Smoke. You know what I'm saying? I have the Smoke apparel available on TraceyLeeMusic.com along with other merch. We just released another, and we're going to be dropping records. I forgot to mention, like various records during the summer that have nothing to do with the project, just something for the people to chew on. And just, again, man, just walk in faith, not by sight, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not about the tangible.
Yep.
It's about the feel. You know what I'm saying? And, just be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, man. And everybody, just whatever your dreams and aspirations are, man, just trust God and keep it pushing.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Tracey Lee. Make sure you're following him on all platforms. Pick up that Expect the Unexpected album. And word on the street is the Many Faces remastered version is coming as well. But in the meantime, I'm going to link that below so you could go back and hear that. If you're a fan of hip-hop music, you need to hear Many Faces. One of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time, man. So appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.